Hey, Matthew Osborn here with the 100 Book Challenge, giving you a very overdue update of the 100 Book Challenge numbers. This is the first time on the channel or hearing about the 100 Book Challenge. My name is Matthew. I started the 100 Book Challenge back in March, ran it for 90 days. And the goal of this challenge was to go out to libraries and thrift stores every single day for 90 days and try and list 100 books a week on Amazon and see what the sales would be, see how long it would take. And so today I'm giving a breakdown of how many books have sold, what my revenue is, a little bit close to 3 months after the challenge, actually a little bit over 3 months after the challenge. So we'll be going over these numbers today, and I'll show you the good things and also some of the bad things that happened and some things that didn't go quite as planned, just to be open and honest with what happened throughout the challenge. So let's dive into the numbers. So books listed, so items listed is 1,377 total items listed. Since then, units sold has come in at 765. So 765 of those books that were initially listed have been sold this far. Now, the first shipment showed up, I think, around 3 weeks after the challenge started, which would have been towards the end of March. So some of the books have been in there as long as a little over 5 months now. Nothing's at that 6 mark yet. A little over 5 months now, and the books listed at the end of May have been in there just over 3 months. So some of them haven't been in there too long, some of them have been in there almost the 6 month mark, where I might start incurring some long-term storage fees soon if those don't start selling. So 1,377 listed, 765 sold, and 562 still in stock. 562. Which leaves about 57% have sold. So I was hoping this number of books sold would be a little bit higher by now. Now granted, like I said, some of them have only been in there about 3 months, but I was hoping to have that number closer to about 65 to 70% by now, since a lot of those have been in there quite a few months. But 57% isn't too bad, so I'm okay with that. We'll reprice sometime soon and see if it drops a little bit more. But that's where the status of those books are. You know, one of the things that did change or was different than what I initially expected is I don't really have a way of explaining why, but for some reason June sales just tanked. Sales were extremely low. If you guys remember from previous videos, I think my revenue for May, the last month of the challenge, was somewhere around 4,400, something like that. For some reason, June dropped to about $1,000 or $1,200 in sales total. Now, granted, I wasn't listing any more books in from the challenge in June, but for some reason, sales kind of tanked in June. It is a slow month normally. They started picking back up in July, but towards the end of July, I had an issue where all of a sudden 100 books from the challenge went into stranded inventory. No idea why. It said there were incomplete listings. It took a long time to try and figure out why those books were. Talked to a bunch of customer service reps, they couldn't figure out why. So 100 of these books, many of them being extremely high priced books, so a lot of the lower priced books were selling, bringing down the average sale price, were sitting there stranded in inventory for almost an entire month. So I think in the middle of August, I finally got in touch with the customer service rep that understood what was going on, even though he couldn't really describe it to me. But long story short, he took about 45 minutes to an hour and personally went in and fixed all 100 of those books. Those books all went active, and they went active the most popular textbook day on Amazon. So sales that day after those 100 books were fixed, I think my sales were around $815 just that day, and they weren't fixed till about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. So that last half of the day, the busiest textbook season day, I did about $815 in sales just from the books from the 100 Book Challenge. So that's why some of the books probably could have sold a little more that didn't, because they were sitting there stranded for a long time. But that $800 day was encouraging to kind of get back on track after those books had been stranded for so long. So revenue so far for the challenge is $12,431. $12,431 in revenue. Now, profit is a little bit lower than I was expecting to be. Normally, profit, when all is said and done, which is still might get closer to that at the end of the challenge, once most of these books have sold, I mean, would be around 48%. So, out of all of your revenue, about 48% will end up being profit. But the lower priced books, of course, are going to have a lot lower profit margins because the amount Amazon takes out of those lower priced books is a lot higher. So, my profit so far is $4,108. $4,108 dollars of revenue, which is about 33%. 33% ish profit on the actual total revenue number. So the 4,108 is a little bit lower than I'm liking. Hopefully, now that all those more expensive books have been back listed on Amazon, my average sale price will be going up until the average profit margin for every single book that's sold will also go up. So I'm hoping to get that number, that percentage increase a little closer to that 48% that I initially had expected to sell these books. But ROI is 172%. Now, 172% is still really good. So 3 months of time it took to get all these books, the amount of money that I invested on that money up to this point is 172%, which is a really good profit margin. That's not something you can normally even get going through the stock market, anything else like that, having a return of 172% on the initial money invested. And I still have 562 books that can be in there that can be sold, which will hopefully bring this much higher once all those books, or a good majority of those books, actually sell out. So the ROI I'm really happy with, 172%, but what I'm more interested in is, given the amount of time I spent during this challenge, what would it have equaled out to per hour of work? In other words, if I did all this work for the challenge, is it going to equal out to what I could have made if I just gotten another job, for instance, and worked another job instead of listing books? Or what would that hourly wage equal out to? So about 144 hours were spent total for the challenge. My average, I think, was about 12 hours a week for 12 weeks. 144 hours. Profit so far was $4,108. And if you divide 144 by 4,108, you get $28.52. $28.52 an hour. So $28.52 an hour is what it equals out to right now, how much I would have made for the amount of time that I spent in the 100 book challenge. And remember, I still have 462 books in stock that can still sell, so this number is going to only keep going up. So I'm still happy with that. Even if everything were to stop right now, even if these books weren't to sell, which they will, don't get me wrong, but even if they weren't to sell, $28 an hour is pretty good wage for just going around to thrift stores, finding books for 12 hours a week and listing them on Amazon. It's only been a couple months after the challenge ended. So this is one of the numbers I was most interested in, and that's one of the numbers I'm happy with. Even though everything else hasn't turned out exactly like I wanted it so far. $12,400 isn't bad in sales up to this point, especially given how many books are left to sell. So I'm happy with what's happened up to this point in the challenge. In a couple months, I'll do another update showing you where the rest of these numbers have kind of fallen into place. And I'm really interested to see, after about 8-9 months, what percentage total of books have sold, because normally it's about 80% of books have sold out of all the ones you put in Amazon, 80 to 90%. So we'll see how close to that number I get and how many more of these books sell. So thanks for being here for this update. Let me know if you have any questions or numbers that you wanted to see up to this point that I didn't share with you. I'd be happy to let you know.